We can do this. And we're live as well. So let me hit this button as well and get everything going. And actually, Sean will know exactly what software I'm using. It'll be Virtual DJ 8, sir.
Hey. Now we're talking.
Now we're talking. Excellent stuff. So welcome along. We are going to be on with the show in about 5 minutes' time. But yes, we've got a couple of viewers already, and they're racking in. They're jumping in and want to talk about Comic-Con. It's great to hear. So first things first, what we are going to do is we're going to start using this countdown a little bit differently because we're going to be using it for housekeeping for the website, for Friends of Comic-Con forum, and also for the show coming up. So just a couple of things about an Englishman in San Diego.com, just to let one or two people know about the offer that I did about a year ago, which we kind of got let down by our sponsor. We were offering some free t-shirts. You will be getting free t-shirts as part of the new merchandise store, which is going to be opening in 2 weeks' time. We've got some stuff we're going to be putting on there, some t-shirts, some enamel pins, all sorts of bits and pieces. One or two unique things to an Englishman in San Diego as well. So that's going to be happening in 2 weeks' time. Also going to be up on the website tomorrow is going to be a new tip link. If there's something that you spot in the world of San Diego Comic-Con, and indeed all sorts of conventions and pop culture, do let us know. It'll be a button that you can click on the sidebar, and it'll take you straight to a contact form. You can just get in touch with us straight away and let us know if there's anything that you've spotted that you'd like us to cover on the website, or indeed on the Hangout on a Sunday. This opening sequence as well, we're also going to be using it for ad space for our supporters. So if there's anything that you would like to shout out as kind of like a community chalkboard, that sounds awfully Chris Hardwick, but I'll say it anyway. Do jump in, and if there's anything that you want us to advertise here on this section as we do the countdown, do let us know. It's every week we do the 5-minute countdown, so it's on the top of each and every show. And we're also going to be opening up a slot as well halfway through the show as well. So you can get your product, or indeed your blog or your site, advertised here on the Hangout. And last but not least, you can also support the Englishman in San Diego and our Hangout on our Patreon, patreon.com/EnglishmanSDCC. Loads of ways you can interact with us, and I'll also be posting some exclusive stuff on that Patreon page over the next couple of weeks, including a new couple of shows that I'm going to be posting on YouTube. Alyssa, do you have any housekeeping that we can let everyone know about?
Just the normal kind of thing. Let me get my earphones on, because I'm a little bit late here. We've got the, you mentioned the tip link, and we've got the ad space. What we're doing in the forum is pretty much the normal after show, talking about our exclusives, getting ready for the fall cons, getting ready for the spring cons. We've got a list that's going up, a poll that's going up asking people which cons they're going to next spring. I do have an interview that's going to be airing on Monday for under the Capes interview that's going to be broadcast on Monday.
Now, I was on the first episode of that particular podcast. It's an interesting show, actually, because it does talk about the nuts and bolts of fandom and kind of turning it into a business. And it's an interesting site. So, no, I'll be looking forward to hearing that.
And speaking of that, today we have our an interesting component of fandom, Mr. Sean Patrick.
Hey,
yeah,
how's it going, guys?
Which we'll get into when we go live. Once again, do share. Let everyone know that we're now live. Of course, you can go to the top of the Twitter, or just share the YouTube. Jump in on the Q&A as well. The Q&A is open. So do let us know what you want to talk about today. We've got Andrew English in there. We've got ourselves Graham Small. Indeed, Andrew English is asking, is pictures from a con coming back to the countdown? Very possibly. Let's see if we can do something about that over the next couple of weeks. We'll let you know. Scott C's here. We've got Super Catchick from rainy, oddly cold Kansas City. Excellent stuff. So welcome along, everybody. So if the countdown is now done, we've got a bunch of people who are joining us. It's the top of the hour, which means we can turn that off and we can turn that off and we can say, hello there. Welcome to Talkin Comic-Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. My name is Leonard Sultana, and it is 348 days to go to San Diego Comic-Con 2018. Yeah, restart the clock, cancel the apocalypse, we're back on. So it's basically a full 50 weeks to go. But obviously over the course of the next year, we are going to be looking at all the other conventions that are coming up between now and San Diego. Of course, the second that we get any news about San Diego, we will be diving straight into that as well, because we were at the talkback and we did find out from John Rogers that we are going to be getting the pre-registration badge sale back in the fall. So we will let you know as soon as that gets announced. So hopefully sooner rather than later. As always, with the Q&A, do jump in and let us know if there's anything that you want to talk about today. But we will be talking to our guests, which first and foremost, my regular partner in crime, we've got Alyssa Franks from the Friends of Comic-Con Forum. Hello, Alyssa. How are you?
I'm well. You know, taking a few weeks off. I think actually maybe your idea of taking last Sunday off might have been a good one.
I'm telling you, it was,
yes.
I mean, it's when I got the notification through An Englishman in San Diego is live, and I was beside a pool with
yes.
a drink in my hand, and I had a better time of it. So yeah, I enjoyed my time off.
I think you did. I was tremendously disappointed with the Bayfront Hotel. I had stayed in San Diego through till Tuesday after con, and they closed the pool and my bar. I was devastated on Tuesday. I couldn't go sit by the pool and have drinks. I was, what do you do after con? But that's the standard. You have to hot tub, pool, drinks. Anyway,
when you get yourself into the routine of covering Comic-Con and then there's no Comic-Con, it feels decidedly odd. I appreciate that, but no, I appreciate the week off as well. So it was a lot of fun to just enjoy San Diego, because I did spend another week in town once Comic-Con had done, and it's always fun to just explore San Diego. I do recommend anyone that does go to Comic-Con, either the week before or the week after, just schedule some time and explore this beautiful city. It is well worth checking out. But there we go. Excellent stuff. What's been happening on the forum what's been the fallout from Comic-Con?
We still have a vibrant conversation going with regards to lines and suggestions. And there's been some good, very, very good constructive suggestions, and some not so good, suggestions, but that's to be expected. A lot of people talking about the exclusives they got. I think one of the most interesting questions I got from the Mondo group was what was the favorite freebie you got, thing that you didn't pay for. And a lot of people, there's been a lot of hats and a lot of that type of thing. Not so many T-shirts, not so many posters, but one DVD set. I was able to get it an Expanse season 2 DVD set, which I thought was particularly nice. But that's just, a fun thing to think about. People are remembering it, I think. Sure. It will be a moment before we start talking about spring cons and fall cons.
Fair enough. I think for myself, I think for myself, it was a print that I got from an artist which I'm a fan of, Elizabeth Delecky, who has done some work for IDW. And I did a review of a book of hers about a year ago, and apparently she remembered, and she gave me one of the Princess Leia prints, which I was rather happy about. So no, it was fun to actually to get that as a freebie, so that was cool. This is where I was going to do an introduction for our next guest, except he seems to have stepped away from the camera for a second. Let's see if he's there. No, there he is. There he is. Sean Patrick is joining us as our special guest today. Hello, Sean. How are you, sir?
I'm doing really well. Can you guys hear me okay over there?
We can indeed. It's a pleasure to talk to you because I bumped into you at Disney D23. And I suppose, tell you what, let's lead on as a segue from that question. What was the freebie that you got? Because you also attended San Diego Comic-Con as well, didn't you?
I was there for part of it. I had some schedule conflicts, so I couldn't get down there till Saturday. And we can talk a little bit about what Saturday was later. But yeah, the best freebie I got, I tried not to take too much stuff, particularly. So you met me at D23, and I want to make sure, I think I gave you, I may have even handed you that hat that you're wearing right now.
Oh, no. This one was handed to me by Kevin Feige himself at Hall H two years ago.
Oh, and
there you see.
Oh, geez. I don't know where it is.
We got to get you a hat.
I got a hat. It's somewhere. I don't wear ball caps.
Okay. But, you know, so I try not to leave with too much stuff. I did walk away with a fun Funko Dorb of Rocket Raccoon that I liked a lot.
Nice.
Got your Funko collection over there, which is, oh, man, after my own heart. I love it. That, and then I really tried not to walk away with this, but Michael Rooker handed me a signed Yondu poster that he said, this is for you. And I said, I can't take it. He said, no, you've got to. So I've got my signed Yondu poster, and it's signed by him and 3 of the artists from Marvel Studios. So I was pretty stoked about that.
That's cool, because it was one hell of a lineup at D23, which at the end of the day, I mean, I suppose we best introduce you properly. First and foremost, do we use your second name? Because I know on Twitter it's DJ Sean Patrick. Do we go the whole hog and keep going?
Yep, I'm one of those high maintenance people with 2 names, so you nailed it.
Excellent stuff. So it's Sean Patrick McKilligutty.
Pretty close, yeah, McGillicuddy, yeah.
I knew I was going to trip up somewhere along the line. When it comes to when I post stuff online, the way I usually introduce myself, because I believe I'm like yourself, I work as a DJ for my sins, and on my the bottom of my posts I usually put it's full-time DJ, part-time nerd, and trying my damnedest to switch the 2 around. How do you introduce yourself?
Man, part-time DJ, full-time nerd, trying to keep it in balance. Oh man, so I do a lot of DJing, a lot of hosting. So I'll DJ events for people like Google or Twitter, or AT&T, like corporate parties like that. I'll host events like movie premieres, like Star Wars Rogue One or Cars 3 or that kind of stuff. I'll host events and conventions and conferences like D23 where we met, or I'll do conferences for people like Beachbody, that kind of thing. So kind of just all over the place. Anything that's live entertainment, you'll probably find me there somewhere.
Cool. I mean, how did you get into it? I mean, was it as the DJ first, or did you go to conventions first? What's your convention history?
You know, it's interesting. It was definitely a DJ first. I live out in LA, so I'm kind of surrounded by convention culture. It's a little bit south of me. But so I've seen the Comic-Con stuff. I worked in the convention center in San Diego well before I ever attended a con. But this was my first year really diving into the conventions themselves. DJing, and then just started hosting. And in fact, this year, I don't think we got a chance to talk about it. This year, I got to go down to host and DJ an after party with my buddy Dre, a company called Hero Within, Tony Kim's company. He does licensed.
We are aware of his work. Yes, he's been on the show a number of times.
Has he really?
Oh yes, I was desperately hoping I was going to make it to that party, but I ended up going to the John Williams concert. I went all highfalutin. I went to that instead. I mean, this year was it was just wall-to-wall parties. There's so much stuff to kind of capture everyone's attention. So when it came to kind of, you say that you did your DJing and hosting first. So how were you approached to do stuff like D23 and other conventions?
Yeah, so I have a little bit of a history now working with Disney, doing their premieres and that kind of stuff. And so, of course, Marvel and Disney, or Disney's owned by Marvel, so essentially the same company. And the first time it goes Disney to Marvel Studios to conventions for me. So I got the cool opportunity to host the premiere of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 this last May, which was cool experience. And then I got a call from Disney and Marvel Studios seeing if I was available to host their booth for all of D23. I was like, man, I wouldn't miss it. So just jumped in right there.
Well, I mean, the one thing about hosting a booth, because I've kind of getting into hosting myself here in the UK, not onto the same scale as yourself, but certainly kind of doing some cons here in the UK. And you do find yourself kind of trapped, well, not trapped as such, but certainly you're working it and you are there on the booth. I mean, what's been your experience with D23? How much time did you get the chance to balance and check out the rest of the event?
You cut out a little at the end there, but I think I got the gist of it. Man, hosting a conference or hosting a booth is pretty similar to attending. You know, you're having 12+ hour days. You know, whether you're working hosting on a stage or you're trying to get to the next thing at a con, like, it's pretty tiring. There isn't much balance to be had there. But fortunately, the people over at the Marvel Studios booth were super cool, super nice. You mentioned earlier, it was a pretty packed lineup over there, but everyone we got to work with was crazy kind and gracious. So it's busy. It's full days. I think we started at 7 or 8 in the morning, and then most nights we had rehearsals that took us to 9:30 at night. So they're pretty long days, and if you're lucky, fortunately for me, I had the Funko booth right next to our Marvel Studios booth, and that's, for me, probably the one place I wanted to get to. So it was jump over, get a little bit of my era. But, you know, as far as balancing, it's just like anybody else. It's like you just do what you can and what you got to do to make it happen.
I appreciate that, especially with the talent that you had on stage this time round. Because you say that D23, or this one, was the first one you'd done for Disney for this, so you have no real sense of a way of comparing it to previous D23s. The one thing that I did hear from a lot of people was how D23 had evolved when Marvel and Lucasfilm got involved. In terms of what you were seeing from that stage, how did you feel the booth went in terms of the introduction of the Comic-Con element, as it were?
Sure. You know, it was interesting. As far as I know, this is the first time Marvel Studios ever had a presence on the D23 floor. So this was new for us as well. Apparently it went pretty well, because I'm not sure how much I can say, but we're looking to, at the next D23, have a larger space there. So they liked having us there, which was cool. Lucasfilms and Marvel Studios being there, I know it was a big deal. I don't know. I'm sure you got to go take a look at the Star Wars land, the model over there. I mean, that was a major thing there. But yeah, it seemed to really elevate the experience, the D23 experience, just having particularly those two studios there.
I think what I also heard was, I mean, it wasn't, I think I mentioned this on our recap show on the Monday after Comic-Con, the amount of times I heard the phrase, "you Comic-Con people" at D23, the kind of the introduction of the mania and the lines and the queuing up. So it kind of, I know it kind of shifted D23. But certainly on the Marvel booth, it was always busy. It was always packed. What do you get out of it in terms of a bit of an ego rush, that you know that effectively you are controlling that booth in terms of the tone and the people that are coming on to visit?
Yeah, totally. Let me hit on the two things. The first thing you mentioned, that con culture. Con culture is growing. You know, D23 is a relatively newer convention compared to things like SDCC. But yeah, you're seeing that Comic-Con culture just start to grow. You know, you're seeing the Comic-Con people now doing the convention circuits, you know, making their way through. So yeah, all those people are really making their way, and the culture and their presence is definitely there. As far as the ego rush, you know, you've been doing some posting too, you kind of know what it's like. You get to be the good guy and the bad guy. Like, everyone loves to be the guy who intros the talent or who gives away the cool free stuff, but no one wants to be the guy to say, "We don't have any more hats." But you have to do both. And you do get kind of the, like, "Yeah, this feels cool. I've got a microphone." But you also have to be the bad guy too. So in some sense, it balances out.
But that's
cool.
What it's like to be a live performer, you know, and
Totally.
to actually have to be there and doing it day in and day out. I actually was wondering how you started. I know you said you were a DJ. Did you start in theater, or do you play an instrument? Were you in a band before you started DJing?
We kind of went from DJing to you hosting Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Let's cover a little bit before that.
Simple. It happened like that. No, great question. You know, it's interesting, particularly when you talk to a lot of singers, they have a similar story where a lot of those singers started with, like, I was in church and I sung, you know, in a gospel choir, and then I climbed my way up, or I went on American Idol, whatever it was. For me, it was pretty similar. I started working in ministry, hosting for, it started off with middle schoolers. So out here, that's about 11, 12, 13, 14-year-olds, and really learned what it meant to host and to try to control an audience. I don't know, ever since I was just about that same age, 14 or 15. And what was cool is when I started in ministry, I had so many opportunities to, so I'm hosting an event with middle schoolers. Well, is that different than high schoolers? Totally. Is that different than elementary? Totally. College age adults, it's also different. So it gave me a cool opportunity to kind of hone my skills as far as learning how to speak to different audiences, learning what works with different people. So that's kind of where the hosting piece started. To answer your question, yeah, I grew up playing instruments and being in bands for, I think, since high school on. It wasn't until I was probably 18 or 19, a little bit older than that now, 18 or 19, started doing the DJ thing, and truly it was on accident. And it's funny how many people's stories kind of start like that, like, well, I fell into it. I got a call from a buddy who was like, hey, my DJ fell through for my wedding. Would you be willing to jump in? I was like, I don't know a lot about that. I can host your wedding for sure, and I'll try. And that was probably back in, oh gosh, that's probably 15 years ago. And since then, 10, 15 years ago, I just got, you know, I met some of the right people. I made sure that every time I was on a stage, I was putting my best foot forward. And it went from DJing a lot of weddings to getting to DJ some large corporate events and parties, and then ultimately landing here.
That's because I was talking with Under the Capes a few days ago, and that was a topic of conversation, was how do you get comfortable performing and controlling an audience? And that is so hard for some people to do. And you obviously have this skill if you're doing the Marvel booth. Did you do, so you hosted Tony Kim's The Red Wedding Party on Saturday night?
Yeah.
I was there. You did a great job. Everybody was
dancing. You were there.
I was there. That was amazing. That was an amazing party. I will admit, you did have stiff competition. I think Elijah Wood was on the other side of the building hosting Screen Junkies party. So you did have some competition that night. That was pretty stiff, but you did a great job. Everybody was dancing. Yeah. That was amazing. Thank you.
Oh man, thanks so much. Yeah, absolutely. That was so cool. You know, we were all in the House of Blues. That's where multiple parties were happening. I think you had Elijah Wood hosting and DJing in the other room, and you had us over here, me and my buddy Dre DJing over here. But honestly, like, it was such a blast.
Mm-hmm.
To go, you know, talk about knowing your audience. To just assume that you'll get a room full of, you know, Comic-Con people dancing isn't necessarily a given. Like, you really have to make sure we all feel comfortable and good and kind of can let our hair down, so to speak. And man, by the time we hit 10:30 or 11, there was no stopping that party. It was just a blast.
I wished it could go on for hours. It was that good. Elijah Wood.
So do I. Then I could have attended.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
I wish you were there too, Leonard.
Listen, I have seen the pictures. I am gutted for myself, so don't worry. I'm fully regretting it myself. I don't know. I had a good night as well. So I mean, I can imagine, like you say, in terms of hosting at the party, hosting at D23, it also comes rather handy when you are a nerd as well. I mean, are you a card carrying nerd?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it took me a little bit to get into it. You know, I wasn't the kid who read comics growing up. I don't kind of have that background, but it's interesting. Well before I worked for Marvel Studios, that's really what kind of got me through the door, was the MCU. You know, I actually just rewatched Iron Man the other day, and it's like, wow, that movie still holds up. And it really, like, you can see the beginning footprint of all of that. And there was something about the beauty of how all of that works together that caught my interest and really got me, you know, falling in love with these characters. You know, nerd culture is pop culture now, and I've like wholeheartedly jumped into that. Now I can't say I'm a card carrying Whovian or anything like that, but as far as these superheroes go, maybe a little Harry Potter. Definitely, if you consider Funko part of that culture, oh man, I'm way too deep into that. But yeah, you can consider me one of your own.
Excellent stuff. Excellent. One thing I wanted to talk about is certainly the mechanics of D23 and sort of like hosting the show, because you obviously are the primary face, the one that is up there on the stage talking to Michael Rooker, talking to Andy Park, talking to these talents. Who else is in the team when it comes to actually putting the live show on the booth on? I mean, I'm guessing you have quite the support system in place.
Oh yeah, there had to be at least 20 plus people from Marvel Studios there. And what made that pretty incredible was this was the first time for them on the D23 floor. And for all intents and purposes, everything went super smooth. Even with, you know, sharing a lot of airspace with different stages or sharing green rooms with different people and talent, like everything went so smooth. So yeah, it certainly was a huge production. Two people that stood out particularly, Dave and JC. Dave kind of orchestrated all of it. JC, you could probably see him anywhere, just making stuff happen, making sure that, you know, people who are in cosplay or maybe people who were in wheelchairs made sure that they had wristbands to come to the signing, like really just going above and beyond. That was all JC. And what's so cool, not just with JC, but with Marvel and their talents and all that, is they really do put in the extra mile. When you look at people like Chris Pratt or Chris Evans, they're always going to kids' hospitals. They're always, you know, going beyond the screen to really connect with their fans. And it was the same at the booth, the mechanics of the booth. Even the people who aren't on screen talent, they have that Marvel heart to go above and beyond and give you that really incredible experience. So yeah, that team of 20, 25 plus people, they really made it happen.
Cool. I didn't think it would be that big a team. And just in case anyone seems to get misconceived, that no, Ryan Penagos doesn't just run everything when it comes to Marvel. There's a whole team of people that are involved. When it came to the talent that was on stage, though, then what were the highlights for you? Because there was, I mean, I can imagine when I've hosted one or two, they do start to kind of blur into one in your mind, because there's just so much stuff that's going on, and you're getting all your preparation together and you're trying to cover as much as you possibly can. What were the ones that stuck out for you at D23 this time around?
So we had quite a few people come up on the stage, and you know, everyone was cool and unique and different in their own way. You know, getting to talk with some of the artists, Andy Park, Ryan Meinerding, as far as character conceptualization goes for the films, like that was really cool. It was awesome because you got to see what they were like, how they did that process. So that was really cool. We had a lot of talent from the films. We had Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther was there. We had the director of the film there as well. We had the last day we had Michael Rooker, like you mentioned. His plays kind of go both ways, and always like the rugged on The Walking Dead, right? Like it's always that tough, rugged around the edges guy. He could not have been nicer. He was like the sweetest person, and he was down for anything. I called him out on his Mary Poppins phone case on stage. He was happy to show it to everybody. I mean, he was just like, he was totally game for anything. So that was definitely, I'd say, maybe it's definitely close to my top highlight, but it's hard to beat. We had Josh Brolin, who plays Thanos in the Guardians movies and now in the Infinity War, or I should say Guardians 1 and now in the upcoming Infinity War movie. We had him come out, and we got to introduce the new baddies for Infinity War together. And that was exciting because I remember the night before, I was asking Dave, who was running the booth, he was showing me the maquettes, the statues of the big bads. And I was like, hey, man, does anyone know that these are the bad guys? Now, of course, there was some speculation for sure, but there was nothing official. He's like, no, we're doing this tomorrow. Like, this is breaking news. And I was like, oh my gosh, I get to like break news himself there. So that way, like, I don't think anything as far as what happened at D23 could top that experience for me. Feeling like I got to be a little part of the MCU, the history of MCU. So that had to be my highlight.
Nice. When it comes to also talking to the talent on stage, I mean, how much leeway are you given in terms of how to conduct the conversation? Are you giving any kind of guideline questions by Marvel Studios themselves, or is it all you?
You know, they're pretty lenient, which is nice. It really depends on who you're talking to, though. You know, you might have someone who's a little bit more soft-spoken, like Chadwick, who is happy to be there, but is maybe a little more hesitant on a microphone. Then you've got people like Rooker, who's like, give me a microphone because I'm going to talk my entire signing. So it depends on like really of the talent up there. But as far as questions to be asked, they really gave me free reign. I just made sure I would always go to the green room and touch base with whoever was coming up on stage, because the last thing you want to do is bring somebody like Josh Brolin up there and be like, Josh, do you want to introduce the 4 bad guys behind us? And he doesn't know who they are. Now, I'm sure he knew who they were, but just as an arbitrary example, you never want to like hang somebody out to dry. So I would always make sure we just touch base with them. How comfortable are you? Do you want a microphone? Here's what we'll do, quick back and forth, and then we go from there. But yeah, I had a lot of leeway with that, so that was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Okay, we've got a couple more questions for Sean, but if we have any questions from our Q&A, do let us know. Jump in and we'll try and get some questions from our audience. We've got Graham Small, who's saying the Andy Park presentation was amazing at D23. Really enjoyed that, and the way that he was talking about his process, but also showing what was upcoming as well, which was really cool. And also Super Catchick, I was at the Screen Junkies event and wish I could have been over to Tony Kim's party before we went, considering that everyone is pretty much talking around and saying how much fun they had at your party at the Tony Kim's event. So I think it was a hit. I think it's safe to say everyone had a great time. That's cool. The other thing I wanted to talk about is then Comic-Con, because I did see that you mentioned that you'd gotten down to see some of the convention. Was that your first time at San Diego, or have you been before?
It was my first time at San Diego during the con. Like I mentioned, I've done it's like the biggest convention center I've ever been in. It's like, it feels like a mile just walking down it. So I've done some gigs in there, different conferences, but never been down there for the convention. But what's cool and what seems to make it really stand out, and I'm sure y'all already know, is like it bleeds out into the streets. It's not just contained in like SDCC, the majority of downtown San Diego. So even if you like, I always tell people if they're in the area, like go check it out. You don't need a badge to see what's happening. And even some people, like I think it's Adult Swim puts on a full carnival outside of the convention center. Like there's plenty of things to do down there. But yeah, this was my first time heading down there. I wish I could have been there the whole week, but unfortunately with some schedule conflicts, I couldn't make it down there till Saturday for that party.
Never mind. Is that something that you'd like to aim towards actually hosting at Comic-Con perhaps?
Oh yeah, of course. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Marvel Studios as far as Comic-Con goes. It's interesting. This was the first year that Disney put D23 before Comic-Con, so they really got a lot of their large announcements kind of on their own stage rather than saving it for maybe saving or sharing it with Comic-Con with everyone else there. Because traditionally, I think it's about 3 weeks after Comic-Con is when they have D23 every other year.
Did you have much in terms of the background, the behind the scenes stuff of that, or was that conversations held somewhere else about how Marvel were balancing between the two events?
You picked up a lot as you were on the convention floor hearing about that, because Marvel Studios actually pulled out of Comic-Con, I think 2 years ago. Not this last year, but 2 years ago. They weren't even at the convention. So it was cool to see them back there. But it'll be interesting to see moving forward with D23 and Comic-Con, if they continue to be so close together, kind of what Marvel's presence, and really any Disney property, their presence is going to be at Comic-Con.
I can sense that you're getting a little bit more guarded now. I don't want you to talk out. Don't want to talk out of school. It's okay. We're not going to go that far. Don't worry about it.
I did have a quick question about how you handled Michael Rooker. I'm going to go back just a little bit, and then we could jump forward with Leonard again in a moment. I happened to see him in ECCC this past spring. Oh my God, he was everywhere. How did you manage to control him? I'm serious. I mean, he had a full stage, a 6,000 seat auditorium, and he was one side of the stage, the other, and in the audience, like 20 or 30 rows back. It was. How do you manage to keep a force of nature like him under control within the time frame and to stay relatively on topic? so that you get your points, you hit your marks.
Totally. It's tough, but so fun. You know, it's interesting. It's so much more enjoyable trying to work with someone who's a little bit crazier. Let's call it this, a little bit more extroverted.
Right.
Than having to try to pull something out of someone who's more introverted. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's cool. You know, he and I touched base in the green room before we came outside, so we kind of knew what we wanted to do. Now, of course, he had his own plan. He wanted to interrupt. I think it was Ryan who was. No, it was three of the guys, the artists before him, wanted to interrupt the presentation as they were looking at the Yondu drafts, and he did that. So like he knew what he wanted to do, but still had some kind of bumpers, some kind of boundaries. And as soon as we got him on stage, the second time after he left the stage the first time, as soon as we got him back up there, it was really about putting bumpers on him. Almost literally, we had security kind of on either side, so we really couldn't leave very much. That, I think, we may have put a literal leash on him. I think we may have actually roped him down. But you know, he had a microphone, so he could engage with everybody. He said he liked to do his signing standing up, which he's the only person I've ever met who doesn't want to sit when he signs. He just stood there and did it. But yeah, he was a ton of fun. He wasn't too much to handle, but I was chatting with his publicist before we brought him up, so I kind of knew what we were in for. I hadn't seen him at a convention like you did. Did you say you saw him at Emerald City Comic-Con?
Yes, and the difference I think is that he was in a theater setting, you know, where there were chairs, and it was a little bit more room than there was on the convention floor. And that's kind of what I was wondering is how, I mean, there's a big mob of people at the Marvel booth. So, you know, I'd be worried about his security. So.
Oh, totally. But, you know, it just seems like who he is. And the Marvel Studio security guys, they all know him well, and they are excellent at what they do. So I'm sure if there was an issue, they'd be able to grab it. But, you know, when you get to know somebody like Rooker, like Michael Rooker, you're just kind of ready for what he's going to do and just hope for the best. Yeah.
I think with Rooker as well, it's more a case of everybody loves him.
Yeah.
There's nothing going to be too hardcore, and not only that, but anyone who thinks they can sort of like square up with him, if they've not seen him in Walking Dead or Guardians of the Galaxy, they know he's going to slap them about a bit. So I think anyone who feels aggressive is going to be guarded, and for the vast majority, everyone else is just like, but we love you anyway. You're Mary Poppins. Who cares? So yeah, I can imagine it is just a case of winding him up and watching him go. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
We've got one or two people who are asking about future events and other things that you may have on the pipe for Marvel Studios and perhaps even for Disney. What else have you got coming up that people could be interested in? Because I know we've got. Well, I don't know. Would they be flying you out to Japan for next year's D23?
Is that where it is?
Yes.
I didn't even know. I mean, there's a chance. I do love working.
Flight, man. Get you on the flight. Okay. Because we've got that. You've got Star Wars Celebration, something that's in your kind of line of sight, or is that someone else that they would turn to?
You would more likely see me at, I'm not saying definitely see me, but you'd be more likely to see me at the premiere for the new Star Wars movie coming out. Since I got the chance to DJ and host Rogue One this last December. So you'd be more likely to see me probably at the premieres and the celebration. These calls at Disney and Marvel about. So to answer your question, the best place to find out, you know, where you can see me, where you can find me, just check out my Twitter, which is just at Sean Patrick DJ, SEAN Patrick DJ. I always post where I'll be. A lot of the stuff I do, unfortunately, if it's not conventions or movie premieres, are private company events. So those are a little tougher to get in. But yeah, if you're going to be at any premieres, hit me up on Twitter. I'd love to say hey. Or if you're at any actual conferences, just let me know. There's a good chance I'll be doing something at conferences all across the U.S. So hit me up.
Cool. I was thinking about the Marvel kind of lens of security when it comes to Marvel Studios and Disney. I can imagine that there's actually only a certain amount that you can share on your social media. It's like when you were shown the baddies for Infinity War. They were thinking, if I post this, I am gonna be the Lord God of nerd fandom for the next 24 hours. and then they'll find my body somewhere in a dump truck somewhere, as Marvel security decide that perhaps I need to be removed. I can imagine your social media is a bit of a tightrope.
I'd be lying if I didn't find photos the night before of the new baddies, but it's one of those things like, do you want that 24 hours of nerd fame, or do you want Marvel Studios to keep calling you? So it's an easy choice once I perspective. But yeah, you know, it is a little bit tough with what you can and can't share, and they take it real seriously over there at Disney and Marvel Studios. You know, I think most of us have heard Tom Holland isn't even allowed to see the scripts for the upcoming films because he keeps leaking stuff. So yeah, they take it pretty seriously over there.
Fantastic. A couple of things that are coming on the Q&A. We've got people asking about, obviously, the next thing that you're going to be doing. It sounds like Star Wars is going to be the next one where people will be able to spot you at. Looking forward to checking that out. And also, we've had Graham Small asking, do you need a +1 for the Star Wars premiere at all? Anyone to carry your controller? Anyone to carry your laptop? I think there's just you have a queue of people that will help you out with that if needs be.
You know, I usually I go for droids and Wookiees first, so you know it's kind of a hierarchy thing.
Well, I think I've been talking on social media that perhaps I may be found in a Wookiee costume at some point in the near future. So that's cool.
I will back this up, and so he was saying this. He didn't just invent this today.
Well, 6'4", I think I could pull off. It's just the growl I need to work on. But there's no way you're getting me that on doing that today. So calm down. Excellent stuff. Right. So just to wrap things up then, obviously, I'd love people to kind of keep up with what you're doing and what you've got coming up. You've already talked about your Twitter. Where else can people find out about Sean Patrick online?
Yeah, you can find me at any social media platform. The biggest ones are going to be Twitter and Snapchat, but you can find me on Facebook occasionally, or excuse me, I said Instagram and Twitter are the biggest ones. You can occasionally find me on Snapchat and Facebook. Everything is the same, all at Sean Patrick DJ, S-E-A-N, Patrick DJ. Twitter is mostly professional, you know, photos from gigs and little replies to people here and there. But if you want a little in-depth peek at what's going on at these events or even just into my life, Instagram is definitely the place to find it. So it's all just at Sean Patrick DJ.
On a professional basis, I'm curious to see about your DJ rig, but that's something else. That's something, yeah. Okay, Sean, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much indeed for joining us. I know it was kind of last minute when we asked, so I'm so grateful that you came on. Thank you so much indeed for coming on, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, and hopefully maybe this time next year I'll be back hanging out with you guys.
You never know. Well, let's also talk about you hosting my party. But we'll get into that as well, so who knows.
Hit me up on Twitter. You know how to get a hold of me.
Thank you so much for the Saturday night for Tony's Red Wedding. That was absolutely fabulous. We had a great time.
Oh, thank you so much. So glad you had a great time. Couldn't have done it without Tony's team there. And, of course, my partner in DJ crime, Dre Correa's killed it over there. And looks like we'll probably be back doing that again next year. I'm not sure where the venue will be, but Tony and I and Dre are already talking about it now.
This is where I get double booked now. Damn it.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. See you later.
No worries. Thank you very much indeed. You can either stick around or you can listen to us talk nerd for a while. But if you want to get off,
I got to just touch base with Kevin real quick.
Fair enough.
Anyway, I got to run, but I'll see you guys later. Take care.
Brilliant. Bye-bye. Thank you very much indeed, Sean. Take care. Brilliant stuff. So that was Sean Patrick. Once again, you can find him at Sean Patrick DJ on all the social medias. Brilliant stuff. Right. So let's crack on with the rest of it. First things first, as we did mention in the countdown, we are introducing one or two bits and pieces when it comes to the Hangout, including supporter space, where you can kind of contribute to the Hangout in terms of anything that you would like to advertise in terms of a product or indeed a blog or a website. Get in contact with us. You can head to the Contact Us page of Englishman-in-San-Diego.com. But halfway through each and every show, we are going to be allocating a space where we can talk to our audience about things that we think we'd be willing to share. So do get in contact with us by going to the contact form on Englishman-in-San-Diego.com. Right. Comic-Con news. Let's crack on with this. We've got a whole bunch of conventions that are coming up, and we're also looking at the aftermath of San Diego Comic-Con 2017, including the dates for 2019, which, when I posted it on the website, did kind of freak a whole bunch of people out, purely because they thought that perhaps I'd mistyped and that we were talking about 2018. No, we have the dates provisionally for 2019, unbelievably. This is coming off the back of a reader on the Friends of Comic-Con forum who got in contact with us, spotted it on the Tuesday of this week that the event had been updated on the San Diego Convention Center events calendar. And we do have those dates, which is Thursday the 18th to Sunday the 21st of July, 2019, with preview night presumably, of course, going to be held on Wednesday the 17th of July. But that now depends on making it official, which we will find out closer to San Diego Comic-Con 2018. And of course, all the other dates as we lead through. Because one thing that I think a lot of people were surprised when we were talking to Gil Cabrera, who's the chairman of the Convention Center Committee, just how far in advance they do lock in dates to their calendar at the Convention Center. I mean, I didn't quite catch Alyssa's face, but my face was just a face of sheer shock at just how far they went ahead.
That was amazing. Didn't he say 30, 20?
Yeah.
Somewhere
30s. Yeah.
30, late 30s. I was just like, wow. So at least we can assume that San Diego has those dates roughed in. San Diego CCI has those dates roughed in, assuming that everything does pan out with the city and they are able to do some sort of an expansion. So
yeah, I think it is. I mean, obviously everything's penciled in. We have it official in the city till 2021, but obviously they are going to just have everything locked down. I mean, they were talking something like, what was it, 75% lockdown way into next decade. It's incredible. And I think a lot of people don't realize just how far in advance they kind of plan this stuff. But we do have the dates then kind of officially for 2019, which you can check out on anenglishmaninsandiego.com.
It's interesting that San Diego, the convention center, is so confident that it can rent the space that they're willing to allow people to pencil in dates as opposed to lockdown dates. That's a nice position to be in.
Sure.
For San Diego Convention Center. But then again, it is San Diego, and we all know how much we enjoy San Diego. So we do have some.
Right. What was that? Sorry.
We do have some other convention news. I don't know if you had heard about Fandom Fest in Kentucky this past week. Had you heard anything about that, Leonard?
No, this is news to me.
They are basically a fan fest. So a lot of publicity, photo ops, signings, so forth, a lot of VIP packages. They took people's money. About half of the guests canceled, and there were no refunds. Now, I don't know if that is going to end up being the case, but there is a huge kind of backlash. I believe Bleeding Cool did a very good write-up on the event of last week. So that's just kind of another ripple in the whole fan fest for-profit events that are happening out there. So use caution, guys. You know, make sure at least I'm going to a fan fest event myself next weekend, but it's refund. I know it's going to be refunded if something doesn't, you know, if a guest.
Is this something that, I mean, we've kind of talked about this on the UK side of conventions as well, that you have that that crisis of confidence in a convention, and it really does become a house of cards, that you just have one rocky element where you just think, is this event going to happen? You get one guest pulling out, and the next thing you know, everything just starts imploding. And considering that, I mean, we've had posts from creators and artists actually talking about how payments take place at a convention. And we kind of now have a little bit more inside baseball about how guests are booked. And we find out that it's very much a case of it's all done pretty much on the weekend of the actual convention, which means they have to rely on the organizers and the promoters to deliver the people through the door. And when you have people not paying deposits to artists and attendees, that's when it starts to all kind of fall apart. We had that with Rogue Events here in the UK. I'm kind of guessing that's what's happened with fandom.
Well, actually, what happened was, yes, but it happened a few weeks beforehand because the fandom did not pay for the travel expenses and the deposits that were airline tickets and travel documentation was not done in a timely manner. So the artists pulled out. They just said, well, if you're not going to, you know, if you're not going to commit to the schedule, we're not coming. Sure. And they apologized to the fans, and that's the way it was.
Yeah. We got Leanne D saying that my brother puts on conventions, and it is a pretty typical situation to happen. You got Super Cat Chick saying, I totally understand the admission not being refunded, but the photo ops purchased for specific guests that have cancelled should absolutely be refunded. I think that's where Rogue Events have really got themselves into a hole, in that events were being cancelled, guests were cancelling, and they weren't telling anybody. And indeed, in some cases, they were actually still taking bookings for those artists. So it was a bit of a, well, a very... it was a mess, quite frankly. Okay, let's see. I just want to come to this side of the pond very quickly to talk about London Super Comic-Con, which is the next big event that's happening here in the UK. It takes place on the weekend of August 25th to the 27th. It's in about 3 weeks' time, and hopefully I'll be doing a live broadcast and report from that show, and hopefully we'll be having a couple of special guests joining us as well. But also just to let people know, we do have some last-minute confirmations of people that will be appearing at London Super Comic-Con. We already have confirmed Brian Michael Bendis is going. You've got Gabrielle Delotto, Terry Dodson, Tyler Kirkham, you've got Jay Lee. Dan Slott is also going to be doing one of 2 convention appearances this year. He's also going to be appearing at ICE in Birmingham. Simone Bianchi, Laura Braga, and a whole bunch of others. But confirmed this weekend, we do know that now that Lee Garbett and Dave Gibbons will be appearing at London Super Comic-Con. So hopefully we'll get the chance to speak to them while we are at in London. So looking forward to that. You've got a convention that's happening next weekend, haven't you? You're going to be doing a live report for us?
I will be doing a live report from Boston Comic-Con. This is a convention, as I've said before, that was locally owned and run as a true, what I would call a Comic-Con. And it's been purchased by FanFest. So this is the first year where it's probably going to move more towards a fan convention. That said, that we do have photo ops with Stan Lee, so I think I will be taking advantage of that myself, because I need another picture with Stan Lee.
This is where we don't have a live report from Alyssa, because it happens to be scheduled about the same time as when we're supposed to be going on air. Which,
but they do seem to have a strong cosplay component. So I am, having done my first cosplay at San Diego, I am going to be exploring that aspect of it. They've also, FanFest has also moved from a smaller venue into a larger venue. So it could be a much larger show. I will say that they are way behind in things like their app, which has not gone live yet. They kind of bury their panel schedule in amongst other things, that it's not as prominent as it is on Comic-Con sites. So I'm kind of making my way through this. It's my first fan event as opposed to a Comic-Con. So I'm going to be writing on it and speaking to that issues too. So I'm really kind of looking for next week. You'll get my first impressions of what it's like to go from comic conventions to fan fests.
Cool.
I'm looking forward to it. I've got a great restaurant scheduled for Saturday night if anybody is in Boston. Totally.
I can say from personal experience, I did discover from going out a couple of nights with Alyssa, she's a foodie. She knows her stuff. So I can understand looking at checking out restaurants.
Double chocolate stout cake. I'm just going to say that's on my list. I'm going to have it.
Fair enough. Alyssa, this is from s05e02 P. Will you be cosplaying as Jinn, since Felicity Jones will be attending New York Comic-Con? Leading on, this is a rather nice segue into my next bit. But yes, will you be cosplaying as Jinn again?
That is my intention. That is my intention. As a matter of fact, I'm playing with my hair, which I am not. Yeah. So we're going to with that. The shoes, I've got to work on getting my shoes a little bit more comfortable. But I think with cosplay, that's kind of, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing it for a while now.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you hear about stories of people getting into cosplay and getting very involved in their character and being very bolstered by putting on the persona of that character. That was Alyssa. She was definitely emboldened by wearing the Jinn Erso outfit. It was pretty cool to watch. Okay, which leads on to very quickly then some New York Comic-Con news then, like I say, as really revealed there by s05e02. Yes, this was revealed 3 days ago that Felicity Jones will be coming to New York Comic-Con. It's only going to be on the Friday. So if you do have those Friday tickets, congratulations, you've got the opportunity to see Felicity up close and personal. New York Comic-Con tickets, as far as I recall, are currently sold out, apart from a number of tickets on the Sunday. So if you are wanting to attend, now's the time to get onto that site and get those final tickets. But as far as I'm aware, the rest of the days are now completely sold out. And also another thing that was announced this week, this was yesterday, sorry. There is going to be an outside show that is going to be taking place on the Friday. This is going to be at the Bell House, and it is going to be Jonathan Colton, Paul and Storm, and special guests for a night of music, hilarity, and general nerdery. Tickets are available if you head to the New York Comic-Con Twitter at ny_comic_con. If you check out the tweet from about 20 hours ago, they do have a link there, and we'll also do what we can to put it onto my Twitter as well. Just to have something to do on the evening, and quite frankly, spending it time with Jonathan Colton. You can't say fairer than that. It's going to be a hell of a show, that. So yeah, that's at the Bell House. That's doors opening at I think 6 p.m. So it's a nice show into the evening. So that's rather cool. Cool. So that's New York Comic-Con. Hopefully we'll be having a Mike Armstrong joining us in the next couple of weeks to talk about the preparations for New York. So fingers crossed. I've just been confirmed by s05e02 P. It's the Thursday that's available for New York Comic-Con. The rest of the weekend is completely sold out. So there we go. Right. Is there anything else that you want to talk about when it comes to future cons coming up?
Just wondering what conventions our watchers are going to be going to. I was also thinking about going to Rhode Island Con, and was wondering if anybody is going to that. I've heard some people talk about Long Beach Con, having tickets for that. Just kind of wondering, as one of the things that Sean said, which was kind of interesting, that he's even noticing that you have people who are doing the convention circuit. And so I'm kind of trying to follow up on that a little bit. But I don't see, let's see, I don't see Fan Expo Canada. Michael P says, Andrew English is going to Islington. Did I pronounce that?
Yes, that's London Super. That's London Super Comic-Con.
Okay. And you said you're going to be trying to do a live show from that?
I am going to try and do a live show. Obviously, at 6 p.m. in the evening, everything will be wrapped up. But hopefully, I'll be trying to convince one or two people to hang around and do as a live show from that. So looking forward to reporting from London Super Comic-Con. I'm also hopefully going to be attending Lakes, which is the Lakes International Comic Art Festival, which takes place in Kendal from October 13th to 15th. And the other big one for me that's coming up is on the 9th of September, which is going to be in Birmingham. We've mentioned it previously before, but this is the International Comic Expo that takes place in Birmingham. We'll be doing a live show from that as well. We've done a live show from ICE before, but hopefully it'll be something interesting, considering that I'm actually hosting at ICE this year. I'm going to be interviewing John Tyler Christopher on one of his very rare visits to the UK. Apparently the guy doesn't like flying at all. So he won't be coming to the UK possibly ever again. So this is a very rare opportunity. And like a fool, someone's actually scheduled me to talk to the guy. So that's going to be rather cool. If you've seen his work, and I guarantee if you buy comics, you have seen his work. He's done the various variant covers for Marvel, his variant covers for the Star Wars. He does the one that does the action figure variant covers. Excellent artist, and I'm really looking forward to talking to John Tyler Christopher. That's on the 9th of September, and hopefully we'll do a bit of a live show on the day after.
What is the status of Thought Bubble? I know that didn't they have their funding pulled last year?
No, well, Thought Bubble has always been something that will continue to go. The thing about Thought Bubble is, in the past, it was something that did events as a well, I believe it's a non-profit as such, because it is a funded festival. It was something that was going after arts funding from here in the UK, and it was fighting against other events like Lakes, like ICE. So it was kind of doing its best to get some of that money in. As it happens, last year the money went to Lakes, I believe, which is kind of reflected in the stature of the guests that attended Lakes last year. Thought Bubble has now got to the stage, however, with the sponsorship that it's gotten in, that it doesn't necessarily need to rely on that Arts Council funding anymore. And it is now moved, or will be moving, from the Royal Armouries, which is a little bit on the outskirts of Leeds. Now it's right in the city centre. It's right next to the town hall. It's in the Millennium Square, which is, believe me, slap bang in the middle of the town. How that's going to affect the convention, I'm very curious to find out, because in the past it was a case of you had to know it was there. You had to be a dedicated comics fan, and you had to make the effort to journey out to the Royal Armouries. Now, and it's right up close and personal. So we could be seeing a bunch of people who are introduced to the convention for the first time. That takes place on the 18th to the 24th of September. And yeah, we'll do a bit of a live report from that as well once we're done.
Sarita has mentioned that Hasbro is doing HasCon in September. Which I'm kind of interested to see, since this is the first year of a dedicated con for Hasbro. I'm kind of interested to see how that's going to turn out. I'm wondering if she's going to do is going to go to the con and maybe interested in doing a live report for us. At least, you know, at least let us know what happened. That would be fun. Leanne.
Well, yeah, I'm absolutely, indeed. Anyone who's actually listed a con that they're going to, if you want to do a live report from there, drop us a line. We'd love to have you on. I mean, there's a number here that have been listed. Leanne D is going to be at San Japan over Labor Day. I'd love a live report from that. That would be cool. And also Alamo Comic-Con in October. And then you've got Aaron Neighbors talking about Long Beach Comic-Con, LA Comic-Con, and DesignerCon. DesignerCon, we had that live report from, and that seems like a very interesting event. I quite liked that a lot.
I still remember he had talked to some booth that was doing 3D printing with a pen and just creating these.
That was so weird. That was so odd.
No, it wasn't odd. It was fabulous. I loved it. It was amazing.
I quite enjoyed talking to Patrick Ballesteros on that show. That was a fun thing.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, DesignerCon is very much about the creatives. So no, it's an interesting show, is that? So yeah, hopefully we'll have a live. Aaron Neighbors is saying our live report was epic. It was, because I remember there was several other people kind of like bouncing around, and we ended up really juggling that show. It was a lot of fun. That was cool. So there we go. Excellent stuff. We're at the top of the hour. I do want to try and keep these to an hour from here on in. So let's move on. I've got one.
Okay.
Oh, go on.
I want to point out one quick thing, and not to go into any, as Leonard said, we're trying to wrap this up. The spring cons look like they are about 2 or 3 weeks between them. So just put those on your radar of Gallifrey, ECC, WonderCon, C2E2, Silicon Valley, and San Diego Comic Fest. They've all got at least 2 or 3 weeks between them. So it's going to be, you know, you'll be able to go to more. If you're local in California, it'll make going to San Diego, to California, harder for those of us who are traveling and trying to get at least 2 or 3 conventions in. So we're starting to do some planning on that. The reason why I mentioned that is because Southwest tickets, which a lot of us fly, the airline Southwest's, the spring tickets go on sale at the end of this month for airlines for their booking until June 1st. So, and back to you, Leonard.
Excellent stuff. Okay, so obviously it's a case of keeping an eye on what conventions are happening when. I am going to be updating the con calendar on an Englishman-in-San-Diego.com. I'll post on Twitter when I've finally got all the details on, but I think I've only just a couple of things I want to just update now that I'm back in the UK. So hopefully I'll have that calendar up and running and fully up to date by the end of the week. Right. I was going to do a post-con recap, but we kind of covered that in the show that we did from San Diego, and I'm sure that it's something we can talk about over the coming weeks, how CCI can move forward after Comic-Con 2017, but we'll cover that.
And we can get the next part because you did not send me my chocolate. So we can.
Oh, right. Okay. Well,
you're
preempting me and jumping into. Okay, that's fine. Okay, let's do this. As we led. This is the reason why she's preempting me, is because she wants to live vicariously through me on this one. Bear with me. As we led up to San Diego Comic-Con, we did try to cover as much as we could when it came to the must-have convention exclusives of San Diego Comic-Con 2017, and there were plenty of them. But one of them we only really found out about on the weekend of the convention, and it was from the convention center themselves. They produced a bunch of limited edition chocolate bars, conventions. As it says on the back here, you have purchased a one-of-a-kind chocolate bar made by hand by the chefs of the San Diego Convention Center's in-house caterer, Centerplate, of 1,200 bars made just for San Diego Comic-Con 2017, which makes it one unique sweet treat. So we were talking about this on the Hangout, which we did on the Monday after Comic-Con, and lots of people were just going, "Oh, we didn't even know about them. That's fantastic." Caroline picked up at this. So, unopened, this is going to be our last San Diego Comic-Con exclusive review. I'm going to.
I want. I have my hand out. Just make it good.
Now here's the other thing that we talked about briefly. We talked about that inside a number of the bars, there are also golden tickets, which allowed you to have like a Starbucks gift card or something.
Oh. You opened that up beforehand. You did that on purpose.
Yes, news. So there we go. I have a golden ticket as well.
Do we believe him? So, viewers, I want your opinion. Do we believe him or not?
There we go. Okay. Right. So this is creamy white chocolate with crushed Oreos with milk chocolate. Now, the reason why I'm curious about this is because, quite frankly, American chocolate is pants. There's not enough cocoa. It's not creamy enough. Don't get me started on Reese's Pieces. Anyway, it says a lot that I have to take English chocolate over for some of the CCI staff. So, you know, I'm curious to see how this is going to work out. So here we go. I'm going to eat this and tell you my impressions.
Sure.
as things go very quiet. This is going to be great for the audio version.
It's like I could do the first little bit of a weekend television while you're sampling. Let me do the first little paragraph.
Go for it. Go on then. Knock yourself out.
Tonight we get sharks because yes, the return of Sharknado 5 is happening this evening, along with Ray Donovan on Showtime, which it looks to be a very great show. I don't have Showtime, so I don't know, but if I did, I would be watching it. I like that kind of gritty stuff. And of course, we've got Game of Thrones tonight also. And now we have Leonard is
my review. Like I say, this was talked up a lot by Gil Cabrera, who's the chairman of the convention center. Talked about how they were very popular. I can understand why. They are absolutely. It's very much like European chocolate in that it's got more the cocoa and it's smoother and creamier. The Oreos are very nice.
Yeah.
Here's the killer. I've got to take half of this bar back to Caroline, and if I don't, I'm a dead man. But I could easily finish this. This is really, really nice.
Can you just send me one piece? One piece.
I could send you this piece.
Oh, you mean person, you.
Oh, there we go. Excellent stuff. No, I would listen. Next year, if they're doing these,
yes,
give them a go, because this is gorgeous. It's really, really nice.
Too sweet. I prefer a darker bitter. You know, and I hesitate to say bitter, but not as sweet. I hate. I will say this is a very sweet chocolate.
I'm a dark chocolate fan myself, so no, I appreciate where you're coming from on that. But no, I will. That's a hit for me. I'm down with that. So that's cool.
Continuing.
Also,
sorry.
No, just a couple of other bits and pieces. Super Catchick saying that I should have bought a couple of those. Leanne D, I miss England and the real chocolate. Yeah, lots and lots of fun. Andrew English is talking about Blood Drive, which starts on Sci-Fi UK this Thursday. The first episode, he says, is rather slow, but it does pick up nicely on episode 2. I know we talked about Blood Drive as we led up to San Diego.
It's definitely shows that that it's not kid friendly, and is pretty kind of Mad Max, early Mad Max, that kind of thing. So, but it is fun and it is interesting. I watched the first few episodes of it. Cool. Later on in this week, we also have Mr. Mercedes, which is coming. It's an adaptation of a Stephen King novel, and it's going to premiere on the Audience Network. Now, I think that the Audience Network is only on Dish TV. I'm not quite sure of it, but Kevin, Doctor Who 42, watched a couple of episodes of it and really likes it. And I have to say, I'm really enjoying The Mist on Spike TV, which is also a Stephen King adaptation. So those are, just kind of couple of interesting things that are happening. But yes, I'm going to set the DVR for Sharknado tonight because you got to get your sharks in during Shark Week.
I'm hoping next week as well, I'll also get the chance to see The Dark Tower as well. So next week, I'll be bringing my impressions of another Stephen King adaptation coming this time to the big screen. You may have heard online that it has not been received spectacularly well, but I've been hearing other mixed reports. So I'm going to be bringing my impressions, hopefully, of that film next week.
I think it really is the... You've got the hardcore fans who have lived and breathed the book. You've got the medium fans who read it years ago, and then you've got the general cinema universe who's never read it. So you've got those three fan bases, and if it appeals to the people who read it, years ago, then I think it will be a success, and it probably won't meet the needs of the I've reread the Dark Tower series a gazillion times. Very few movies ever do that. So I have heard fabulous things about Dunkirk, and that is the movie that I have got to go see. I'm sure Mark Mark Serby would admonish us both for not having seen that one so far.
Well, I'm certain I'm going to get told off as well for not seeing Valerian yet either. But then I have been kind of spending a week catching up, and next week is my kind of social going out. So hopefully I'll be getting the chance to see Valerian as well. I'm talking about how the audience haven't come out in droves for Valerian, and that it's possibly this year's John Carter. I'm hoping that's not the case, and I'm looking forward to seeing it myself. So Andrew, you're asking about my review of Valerian. Bear with me. I will hopefully see that this week as well. Right, so let's wrap things up. I'd like to say thank you very much indeed again to Sean Patrick for our special guest appearance earlier. I hope you enjoyed that interview. He's brilliant.
Weekend TV, finish it up.
I thought we'd just done it.
No, I did not. That was all media and movies and all that sort of stuff. Orphan Black finishes up next Saturday night. So a lot of people are really kind of devastated by that. Don't eat more chocolate. He's eating chocolate. Caroline, he's eating your chocolate. Saturday Night Live is going to be a special editions of Saturday Night Live weekend updates will start airing this week, and DuckTales also starts airing. I have to just put a shout out for Will. If anybody likes that kind of time travel, it's a real fun show. Midnight Texas is not to be missed. As I said, we said goodbye to Doubt. And my longtime history favorite of the American Revolution Turn has its last episode this week also, as I said, of Orphan Black. Okay, now we're done. Now we wrap this out.
Fair enough. A couple of comments on the Q&A. Graham Small turning around and saying that he loves Ray Donovan, which I believe is coming back rather soon. And also Sarita P. Since HBO was leaked, wondering if more Game of Thrones episodes will be released. I guarantee this was your one. This was your one episode. Security on that thing will be shut down so damn tight now. I think that was your lucky shot. That was as good as it's going to get. Okay. Thank you very much indeed to our guests. Alyssa, where can people find you online?
At Friends of CCI for my Twitter, and my site is friendsofcc.com.
Excellent. For myself, you can find me on all the social medias, usually at Englishman SDCC, and of course you can find my work and also the work of other contributing writers at anenglishmaninsandiego.com. We'll be back next week. If you would like to continue to support the Hangout and indeed everything that we do, you can support our Patreon. I got the email yesterday that we had a Patreon payout which came out, and I'd really like to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much indeed to everybody that has supported the Patreon. We posted early the interview that I did with Tess Fowler at San Diego Comic-Con, so if you were a supporter, you got that about 3 or 4 days earlier before I posted it everywhere else. So that was my little gift to you, and I'll be doing more of those as the weeks go on. You can support at patreon.com/EnglishmanSDCC. We're back again next week, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. And for myself and for Melissa, we'll hopefully see you then.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.